Erik Satie was a quirky and witty composer of the 20th century who tested the boundaries of the classical genre. He was an eccentric performer who wanted to be different from everyone else. Erik was not a known artist until after his death, when historians realized the influence that he had. He didn't live a lush life like many other musicians and composers do today. Erik Satie paved a path for more minimalistic classical music that expressed emotions more than ever before. His life was definitely different, one from most classical composers. While he went to school for music, he didn't graduate until he was nearly 40. All the while, he was a backup pianist for cafes, but many of his professors and classmates considered him to be a lazy learner. He was very intrigued by the roots of classical music, and throughout his compositions tested the boundaries of what he could achieve. With witty titles and odd combinations, he made history as one of the most quirky composers. Even though he used his talent in a strange way, he was a very talented composer. In a more unconventional way, Satie was an eccentric composer with quite unique and intriguing works. He had lots of musical education that took a long time to complete, but he used that in order to break the rules of music. He used his knowledge to know where he could push boundaries and create a different type of sound. This is one of my favorite songs that I didn't even realize was by him until I started doing this paper or oral assignment. It's one of the most calming and relaxing songs that I've heard. I don't know if you can hear it. But it's just, he worked really hard to make the keys in the piano as long as possible, not to rush into things. Many people who cover his song and play it much faster than what he intended it to be. It's around a 10-minute song, but many people play it much faster than that. And it's just one of my favorite because it's so relaxing, but different than just basic classical music. He was different than typical composers, but he was educated and knew where he could break the rules. He paved a way because he didn't like the basic and the boundaries of the Romantic period. He didn't like the typical scales. He wanted something different. And so he worked really hard to create something different throughout his music. His whole life he was not famous, but he had a few well-known songs in his community. He was known for being witty and having a quirky sense of style. And he also created his own religion. This religion is embedded in all of his songs. He didn't make it like a religious song, but he had little bits in there. This religion and his implementing of the religion definitely influenced composers for time to come. He also really enjoyed adding different scales and instruments from different origins so that it created confusion in the piece. I found this really cool because it kind of brought everything together, and I just thought that was cool. He liked to be different, and that's how I like to be in my life, and I agree you should express yourself through your music, and that's what he really worked hard to do. He was a strange man, and all of his music pressed the boundaries of the classical genre, but I think he did a really good job at influencing the people of today, and I definitely think that anybody should do some research on him because he has some pretty cool songs. This one that I'm listening to right now, I don't know how to say it, but it's Troyes Gymnopedias. It's from 1888, and it's one of my favorite songs by him. And I definitely think that it's something special, and that a lot of composers can be boring, and this is one that I don't think is boring because it has the energy, but it's also pretty simple. I definitely think that you should, or anyone should, investigate a little more, and I think it's important to know where composers come from when you're listening to music instead of just listening to the music. I'm really bad at that, and I don't often know like who the artist is or who the composer is, and I think it's important to know who it is and how they got to where they were in creating that music. I had a really fun time in this class, and thank you.